4.9 in our tornado index. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, that has never failed us. It's never been wrong. We, in fact, quite honestly, there have been times I've relied on that and gone against other areas, including the National Weather Service, and we ended up being right in the analysis in the next 24. So this is a very important factor. The realization that it has dropped a little bit is good, but it did the same thing about a half an hour ago as it's pulsing through the storm. That doesn't mean this is dying out, and in fact, seeing the structure of this, for lack of a better term, it's taken a break, and it's just rotating now, not at the top strength. So we could very well see this spin back up into something a little bit more significant than even the fact that it's a confirmed tornado right now from the National Weather Service. So as we look at it, it looks like they extended out the warning, or was that?
Not yet. Still the they've extended the confirmed tornado in the purple box, but
okay,
it still looks like the severe thunderstorm warning.
It's still out there. Okay, yeah, very good. Any thoughts, Cam, that you've seen so far?
The main thing is the fact that you're going to be dealing with the rain, the heavy rain inside this. So you brought it up earlier. Don't wait to see this. Don't wait to look out at your back porch and be like, oh, it's coming now. You're not going to be able to see it. You've got a lot of lightning as well. There's many different factors that are going into making this a very difficult situation. And just the isolated wind speeds, let alone the tornado threat, are going to be enough to make this a problematic stretch here as this moves through.
Yeah, keep in mind one thing. Just because this is the core of the storm, that doesn't mean there aren't really damaging winds out from the storm itself. And I think that's the important thing, too, as well to mention. So we continue. We got an update on the spike. So, yeah, let's see what the latest is here. Okay, so the timing then, Vivi at 2:31. Let's see. We've got Warsaw at 2:44 and Glencoe then at 2:50. Still, oh my goodness, the hail has increased. Look at this. We're at 2.5 inches now in hail, and 100% chance of that right going on. You'll see also something else. See how low base this is. This means this cloud is really low. We always talk about, oh, look, they're at 35, 40, 50,000 feet. That's true, but the base of the storm is what's important to us, because that means there's that drop that's going on. That's at 11,000 feet. The shear is now at 104 miles an hour. So the assessment that Cam and I were talking about is probably accurate. This storm has increased in strength and size as it has moved here in just the last 15 or 20 minutes. Now, we're looking at the hail swath, and you'll see the hail stretching out away from the core of the storm as well. And we're talking about 2.5-inch hail. Don't go running out right now if you're in Vivi and go move your car. Let it be. Please stay in your tornado-safe location. This is the type of storm that will cause damage, likely already has. It's closing off now, meaning that this whole area, we call this a bounded weak echo region. The reason why we call it that is the bounded, the weak echoes, meaning this is green, right? And we all know from green to like red or even purple when it comes to reflectivity. So what's going on is this is spinning so fast. The best way to think about it is if you took the top off of a blender and you look down, you know how there's a hole in the middle there, but the outside's just going really fast. Well, that's what's going on with this storm. Why don't you see what the size is right now, too, while we have that? It'll give us an idea about how big the structure of this is. Okay, so yeah, we're looking at 3 miles. So, we talk about the width of a tornado sometimes in the aftermath on surveys. Well, this is what we're talking about. Right now, that damage path is 3 miles in a width. So when it starts moving through Vivi, and that's why it's so imperative for you to be in your basement or, again, in the interior room of your home. It's a closet. It's maybe a bathroom. Put as many walls between you as you can. This is going to come through and cause damage. It's just that simple. And I really hope, really hope nobody is hurt by this. But right now, this is the kind of storm that's going to roll right over Vivi here in just, what was it, the next few minutes, Cam? What?
Yeah, we're still waiting for that latest run to come in. But
okay, so yeah, it's already on the back side of this. Yeah.
If not already with these.
All right, radars. So let's hope that everybody has listened and they're there. Okay, the TDS, do you see that? Pop that back up, please. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the extent is 5 miles is what the radar is now saying. We were doing a quick analysis, but So in other words, there's damage to be had within, yes, sir.
There's that latest one that just came in with the new data.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Still looking at exceedingly big hail. Still looking at 104-mile-an-hour winds. The width is 3.4 miles. So that is the center of the storm itself. But that outside area extends to about 5 miles. That's what that TDS event was talking about. You'll notice that we're looking at 231. So it's...
They just increased the tornado warning until 3 p.m.
Okay, all right. So here's where we stand. It's something that we were talking about that undoubtedly was going to happen. In fact, Cam was the one that mentioned at first that there was no question this was going to go tornadic out here. So now, you folks in Warsaw, Glencoe, Sanders, you're in it as well. And so as a result, we're talking about more folks that need to, oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, this is the intensity of the spin on this. Let's go to the SRV cam. This is now out until 3 o'clock. We're going to be on until 3 o'clock because of this. Right now, we're talking about, you want to peg a couple of these, see what the wind speeds are by here. Yeah, maybe those real bright ones, I'm sure, are going to be higher down here in the green. Yeah. Okay, 60. Yeah, 46. In other words, these winds, if they were going straight, would be that, but they're not, right? Because one is going toward the radar. Our radar is this way. So these are going toward the radar. These are going away. So in the middle, that's where that shear is happening. But the rotation of this then, once you start doing the algorithms and how it works in the atmosphere, that's why we're seeing the fact that there could be winds upwards of 104 miles an hour across this area. Just check me on that and see if they're still back up there. Yeah, 103.6. Yeah, that's surely the case. Okay. Well, there's no question that there is this tornadic and tornado on the ground that's been confirmed. We're seeing that whole shade being purple, and that's what that area means. Any thoughts, Cam?
The hail size on the latest updates now up to over 3 inches.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the hail size, and again, 100% chance with that hail. That was something we saw, before this was even in our area. It was 2-inch size hail. Like, that's pretty good size.
3 1/4 inches. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
There's that.
So yeah, there's the hail swath. Yeah, or is that hail? That's just hail.
Yeah, that's just.
So
hail.
This is analyzed in the last 15 minutes. Yeah, go ahead and analyze the dark one there. Grab. Yeah, what we got here?
It wasn't pulling up earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this area here, we know is, that area there is where the 3 1/4 is because it has the darkest shades. It goes from lighter to darker. So we're talking about areas of 2 or 3 inch hail on a big scale here, on a larger scale. Okay, so now you'll notice how this notching is coming back a little bit. That would be a good sign if it continues, but I'm hardly going to say this is over because it's just not. But at least we're seeing one good scan that gives us some hope here. But again, let's see if that doesn't close off as well. And right now we're looking at, okay, so there's the tornado warning. Here's where we are. Let's go down in for a little street spotting. Hang in there, Vivi. Hang in there, Gent. It's over the top of you now. If you're watching on the app or you're listening to the television down in your basement or whatever it may be, or if you just turned it up on your floor and went into that bathroom or closet, hang in there. The storm's over the top of you now. It'll be moving very quickly. Moving still at what, Cam? What was the latest? Where are we stand? Moving at 40 miles an hour, 43 miles an hour. This storm's going to go ripping across that area. And I hope things are fine for all of that area. Okay, so we're watching this. Let's push back to a little reset here. We're in continuous coverage, folks, if you're just joining us, because of this area here that you see in red, a tornado warning that's out until 3 o'clock. The purple that you see there is, yes, sir. Did you have something?
I was checking to make sure nothing else had popped up.
Oh, gotcha. That purple shade means there's a confirmed tornado. So most likely it's a first responder who saw the tornado, but given the structure of what we're seeing as well, it's not hard to imagine that there's a tornado on the ground right now. So this will continue to move. Let's get a little update on ETA, please, and do that for our friends. Okay, so Vivi's at 235. Yeah, that's because the spike's behind here, if you notice. That's why it's reading 235, but this storm's moving so fast. Let's do a fresh one, Cam, and just stretch it out to about Glencoe and Warsaw so that we can give those folks an idea of what's happening. But you'll notice the intense amount of rain. When have you normally seen that kind of, when we're talking about radar, right? We see orange and sometimes red too, and occasionally we see purple. This has now gone way beyond purple. The intensity of the rain that's falling here is somewhere probably to the tune of about 4 or 5 inches an hour. I mean, that's how hard this rain is coming down at this point. Okay, so Warsaw at 2:39, so you're about 9 minutes away. So we're looking at probably just after that for Glencoe. That's shear rate. Yeah, let's take a look at it. This will tell us where the greatest amount of spin in the atmosphere is going on. And right now, that has to be the Wilmington radar?
Correct.
Okay, let's go to Indianapolis and see. Yeah, there's the red. So, yeah, and that's where we are. That's likely right around the VV areas we've been talking. You'll see the intense red there. So we're talking about strong shear. We watched this. How about the shear swath? Cam, the reason why we look at these products, yeah, great. That helps a lot. Here's the good news. 2 things. One is clearly there was more spin in the atmosphere going on in the last half hour. Now, that's not to say there's not a lot of spin going on now, as we've talked about. But the good news is there seems to be less, at least at this moment. So that's a good piece of news for us. We're seeing less there. Here's a little update for you folks in Glencoe. So it'd be about 16 minutes from now. We're talking about this storm. Cam, set it back to reflectivity, if you would. Yeah, thank you. And then also, will you, after this, we're still looking at all this very heavy rain, see if you can get a 1 hour amount in rain or go into the rain rate. And I'm just curious how hard it's raining around there. We know we've covered the lightning. You folks all should be from Warsaw to Glencoe to Sanders in your safe place, and everybody in between as well. I wanted to see if we're getting an inch of rain. Is that that's a 3 hour? So maybe we can get the hourly, but okay, kind of surprised there isn't more rain given how hard we're seeing it rain now. But I'll say because of the speed, keep in mind we're talking about, now I think about it, 43 miles an hour. So even though it's raining, it's moving at 43 miles an hour. It's hard for it to accumulate in one spot. But it's the kind of rain that would happen that you wouldn't probably be able to drive. I mean, we're looking at a serious high rain rates. Here's the lightning. Can we get the counter up too? I'm curious how many there as well, Cam. We're seeing this every 15 minutes, right next to the lightning, not coming on?
It's clicked on.
Oh, okay. So anyway, you'll notice there's an intense amount of lightning here in the last 15 minutes. This is the 15-minute indicator. So we're talking about likely some power issues as well. You folks in Warsaw and Glencoe probably seeing now some lightning too. Don't wait to actually see the storm because it's likely rain-wrapped. What does that mean? Well, there's so much rain and so heavy rain going around the system itself, you probably will not see the tornado in of itself. What will happen is this heavy rain will come in and all of a sudden the tornado is there on top of you. So do not wait to see it. Go to your safe location now. So the storm itself looks like it's over VV at the moment. We're thinking about you, VV, Ghent, all of that area there. It's on its way to what looks like maybe Glencoe. You'll notice this is the area. Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, in about 2:45, so where are we? So 12 minutes from now. This storm is going to continue to move off. It's really kind of an unusual pattern for tornadic activity. Normally, it moves southwest to northeast on a pretty good line. It can move more east, but generally there's at least a little bit of a tilt to the north. This, at present at least, looks to be moving in almost an easterly fashion, if not southeast. So it's kind of an unusual play on this. So what I like to see, we're not sure what these gates are. We sometimes call that gray ghost. In other words, it's the pulses from the radar going out, and the ones continually go like this, and then it hits one coming back, and it says the data is bad, we can't give that to you. And so it creates that gray area. But we're still seeing some very intense returns, and in fact, this is interesting down here by Sanders. This is a whole different thing going on right at the moment. You'll notice that there's red and green right next to each other. When we see that, we know, you want to put, the skits are on, huh? And are we on Indy or Illinois? Or,
This is ILN. I'll go to Indy.
yeah, that's okay, good. That's probably better still at this juncture. And you can see here's the storm, and we kind of washed out that red from down there. The reason why we have all of these radars in our network is because of this. What's happening is there's obviously the curvature of the Earth. So here's the radar, and it shoots a beam. Problem is the Earth curves down like that, right? So the beam keeps traveling up, and it hits up into the clouds, and it may read something that's not really true. And that's why we have all of the different radars to look at. Right now, yeah, pull in tight here. Let's give the folks in that area an idea of probably where this is. We're seeing, we're seeing a whole bunch of, there's the update. Right around the Carson-Sparta area or so. In fact, look at this. We've got 50-mile-an-hour winds going toward the radar, 50-mile-an-hour winds going away. So this storm is somewhere in this area right here. We've got a new update. Yeah, let's see if anything has changed. And the shear is at 92. Not a big difference, but nevertheless, now we've got 4-inch size hail. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I saw one of our reports off of our Doppler saying 4-inch size hail. The one notable difference is the tornado index. This does not mean this storm isn't powerful and won't cause damage. It just means those rotational properties are not as strong right at this moment. But we have enormous size hail. We also have still a good size circulation, and you'll notice that it's moving at about 40 miles an hour. So, well, there you go. There's our strong shear that's happening across this area, and we are definitely getting some good rotation based on what we're seeing here. Push back out, Cam. As we do that, any thoughts as we're taking a look at this?
The main thing is just how fast this storm is booking across the area. That tornado warning is in effect until 3 p.m., but I mean, it's, we're getting close to getting, more than halfway through that. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's expected to be at Glencoe at 2:45.
Right.
So it'll be out of that box. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to extend that to areas such as Crittenden, Dry Ridge, as those arrows are kind of pointing directly that way. You mentioned the little bit of an abnormality of it not moving further up to the north, continuing to go straight on that easterly path. So if you're in Dry Ridge and thinking the same way that we were, this will go just to the north of us, that's not 100% true as we I've seen the trends of this moving.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. You folks who are watching us in the Dry Ridge area, what Cam had to say was spot on. It sure does look like this storm. And here's the thing I want to say. I'm hoping this thing starts dying out as it starts moving into Grant County. Let's all hope for that, of course. What it'll likely be is if it does start diminishing, it'll still be a severe thunderstorm warning, meaning winds will still be gusting to nearly 60 miles an hour. We'll have a whole lot of lightning, and clearly this rain and the hail, while that may come down, if this is indeed the case, we're still talking about probably hail damage. So right now for you folks in the Dry Ridge area, pull out over here and let's give some heads up to the folks in Grant. The good folks who are across the area that's getting hit right now. If you're in anywhere near the 75 stretch here, know that this storm is coming your way. I mean, just because, and look at this, it's now it's got a northeast tilt, okay? So this is the deal. So when this storm spins, it was spinning easterly, and now it caught northeasterly. It was unusual, as we were talking about. So now you folks in Crittenden, as well as Dry Ridge, you need to be on the ware. Pull in a little bit tighter for me, Cam, here. Is this mostly just land, or is there a lot of folks in that area? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Zion Station, Elliston, Folsom, Jericho, Monk. You folks that are all across here, Ryle, of course, this area through here, you're all in the path of this storm. You'll see the tornado warning box right here, right to about Napoleon. So this storm, go back, let's see what's, oh boy, it's still back in. It looks like it might be gaining some strength again. What do you think? Let's see. Yeah, we're lost some data here. It's also, but the computer's analyzing right here. It's moved, because that's probably where the core of the rotation is. Go ahead, hit that, Cam. Let's see if there's update to what's going on there. Okay, so the shear is at 80, so that's dropped a bit. So is the hail, but still, the tornado index itself has dropped to 3. So the circulation around this storm, while still a shear storm, there's no question, at 81 miles an hour, it's not as potent as it has been in the last, let's say, 15 or 30 minutes, and certainly longer than that. It was outside of our area. You folks in Glencoe, that doesn't mean you can come out of your tornado safe place, by the way. Nor does it mean you folks in Crittenton down to Dry Ridge, you shouldn't be ready for this powerful and damaging storm, because there's still going to be dangerous twisting winds with this. It's only now a matter of to what level. You'll notice our 9 first warning Doppler, which does the best job of anybody here across the greater Cincinnati area, was the first to tell us that this storm was brewing. And that's why we were on first, because we wanted to give you folks lead time to be ready. It does precious little to jump on when the warning comes out, and that's why we're out ahead of this, and why we want to make sure we tell you folks in Crittenton and Dry Ridge to be out ahead of this in case this storm starts spinning up in intensity. So that's what we're watching at the moment. Now, what about the rainfall? Let's take back and take a look at the reflectivity as this storm continues. We still have a really good notch in here, meaning that the winds are, this inflow is happening very strong. Normally, we don't have a notch this developed, and you'll see the hook nature to this. Oh, perfect. The rain rate, you got that up. Let's just see. There you go. We're talking about 7 inches an hour. Now, no one's going to collect 7 inches because, as we mentioned earlier, this storm moves so quickly it won't pool or accumulate to 7 inches. But the fact that it's coming down very hard, there's no questioning there's flooding across there. Thoughts, Cam, at this point?
I'm a little surprised, as we were a little earlier, that they haven't extended that tornado warning box yet, just because it's over Glencoe right now, Crittenton, in the next probably 15 minutes. They might have just extended it as I was saying that.
We have a little audio cue that you probably can't hear at home, and let's just see if this box doesn't get extended. Likely it will, because right now we're still seeing.
There it goes.
And there it is right now.
That is until 3:15.
3:15. So this is heading right. Let's do an update as to the folks who are there across the area. And let me just say, it's a little bit more than strong storms right now. We have what has been a confirmed tornado, and what we still believe could very well be a tornado on the ground right now. The tornado warning has gone out. If you get a chance, Cam, we could take a look, see if they've got any confirmation or Doppler indicated on that. Okay, so here's the update for you for Glencoe. You're coming 2:51. This is 10 minutes. You already should be in your tornado safe place, but this storm is now, unfortunately, going to roll pretty much over the top of you. So if you're watching, listening at home, know that this storm is coming for you, and be in a safe place if you're not already and didn't, or just dialing in. We're still seeing a lot of hail with this storm. We're seeing still hail pieces. Think about your thumb being 2 inches. This is 3.5. It's nearly 2 thumb lengths, and that's the hail that's falling out of here. There will be damage from the hail alone. We're seeing shear as well, up to almost 70 miles an hour, and the width of this storm, meaning the core of it, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5 miles, a little bit more. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it.
I'm looking at the National Weather Service right now. They're not saying with this specific one that this is a confirmed tornado. It's saying that it's radar indicated rotation, but they are mentioning with this that one of the biggest impacts is going to be that tennis ball size hail. That's about 2-3 inches for sure. You get above 3.5, 4, usually that softball size hail, which we have seen kind of popping up here on our radar. So that's going to be the big thing, along with obviously the risk for a tornado. But as of right now, it's not confirmed. But I think the way that this has been acting, we should treat this as a system that's kind of hopping up and down, one of those, as we've already had a few instances of a confirmed tornado within this same system.
Yeah, that's a very good point to remember as we talk about this. Right at the moment, let's go back to reflectivity and see what the story is on structure here. And we're still seeing this real hook here, and that indicates there's a lot of rotation in the storm. This orange skit that's here, oh good, yeah, let's go there. We'll talk about that in a moment. Dry Creek Road, Sparta Road that goes right through about Glencoe, Boone Road. Okay, this is all the pathway. Warsaw, as well as Eagle Hill, Elliston, Folsom, you're all in the path of this storm. This is all coming for you. It is tornado warned. There's still going to be damaging winds. Just because it hasn't been at its peak that we've seen, that doesn't mean that this won't tear a portion of a roof, knock down a fence, blow down a barn, something along those lines. This is a tornado-warned storm, and it has been for a while. That's why we're in continuing coverage. That's why you should be in your tornado-safe place. Basement, interior room in your home, putting as many walls between you as you can. I know for folks who have been with us for a while, I've repeated a couple of those things. The reason why is folks are always kind of dialing in after maybe their siren goes off, they got a phone call, whatever it is. So it's important every so many minutes for me to refresh and kind of set the stage again so that everybody knows where we stand. So we have a heck of a lot of rain also falling up through Warsaw. There's probably a lot of winds up through there. There is some rotation. We can see it from these spikes mean certain things to us. This particular one means there's some rotation in this storm, this pink one. You see how it's bulging here now? There's some winds that are around there too. You know, we've all seen a video sometimes of having like 2 tornadoes in one area. That's not necessarily the case right now. I want to make that clear. But I'm watching that when I see, in other words, when I asked Cam to put that up, we analyze on the fly, and that was an interesting kind of thing, that things are bulging up there, and it's being analyzed as a shear storm, meaning that there's winds going both ways. The main thrust of everything we're watching, though, in the tornado-warned area is actually right here across the Glencoe area and stretching back just into about Vivi, up to Warsaw and down to Sanders. You'll notice that we're in the intense area here, so that means there's a lot of shear, a lot of rotation going on across that area. And when we see these, and there are certain markers we look for, we're not seeing an S-curve. That's a good sign. Seeing an S-curve is a bad sign because it's almost a surety that there's a tornado on the ground. We're not seeing that right now. We're seeing weaker rotation at the moment, but this storm has obviously shown the tornadic properties. It was a confirmed tornado not long ago. There's a lot of rotation going on. Here's the latest. Dry Ridge, you folks at 306 as this storm continues to push off to about the east, which is kind of an odd, as I said, odd direction. Normally this would be going northeast. We're seeing the hail size drop in the latest update from the computer to 2.5. That's still damaging hail and will cause some real problems. For you folks in Crittenden, if this storm then again, it wouldn't be the core of the storm, but keep in mind you're still going to be on the periphery, and that's going to be enough to cause some damage across the area. So you folks are at 306 as well as this storm continues to move out to the east at 43 miles an hour. So we're seeing, how's the lightning doing on this? We're seeing there's there's still a heck of a lot growing all across that area. It's one of the factors we look for to know that the storm is increasing perhaps in intensity. You'll see the red bars. Why don't you push all the way back a little bit and we'll reset for everybody as long as we're up that far anyway. So here's downtown Cincinnati in the metro. We're out past Boone County and we're into Grant and also Owen County, stretching of course toward Pendleton. If this storm continues to move, it also is going to just graze across Boone and Kenton as it continues to move off to the east, as I mentioned, at 43 miles an hour. Now, the rain and any other storms that are happening, those storms that move through greater Cincinnati, Boone, Warren County, looks like past them too. So all of these rain and storms that are there, which radar we have on?
This is ILN.
Okay, so all of these rain that you see here, that's why the lightning's off. I want to put the lightning back on. I want to see if there's any, yeah, there you go. So you folks in Hillsboro, you'll notice the green spike, and we've been talking a lot about that. That's a garden variety thunderstorm as it stands right now. It does look like it's going to be to you at 311. This thunderstorms will move through. There's probably some winds to 40, 45 miles an hour. They'll be pretty gusty, but they're obviously not the situation that we're worried about. So the point that we're watching here is at 3 o'clock, about 12 minutes from now, this storm is going to reach out to about right here at Pendleton County. So it's going to move across, as I've mentioned, where it is situated now. And where is it? Drop that in there a little bit. Where is it exactly? It's just south of Warsaw, over Glencoe right now. And yeah, that looks about right. The good news is, you want to tag some of those? These look pretty powerful here. And then there looks like there's one under here as well.
Let me click on that.
Let's see what that is there. Yeah, need the eyedropper. Yep. And so this one will show, some of the winds that are going. So we're not seeing the intensity in that rotation right at the moment. So that's good news for us right at the moment. We'll see if this continues. Oh, there's an update for us. How about that spike right there, that real bright one? It'll give us a good indication. Yeah, see, there's still some areas
This
across.
is the Indy radar, so
Oh, okay. It might be shooting a little high. Yeah, it might be shooting a little high at this point. Again, we mentioned that because the radar is now away from Indy, or I should say the storm is so far away from Indy, that's probably shooting up in the clouds a little bit. That's why there's a differentiation in some of the winds. But it does show perhaps some of the winds that could migrate to the surface because it is aloft. Right at the moment, we're not seeing the same kind of structure to the storm. We continue to see, and this is why the computer is analyzing this right now. It's analyzing, yeah, is that, okay, our storm was here over Glencoe. Is this part of it? Is this the back side of it, I guess?
I think it's just the backside.
It's the backside.
Latest data.
Yeah, okay, very good. So, yeah, we're still looking at what could be 70-mile-an-hour winds out of this storm. Still, though, we were seeing, see, because here's the notching, right? And, okay. This is the shear. This is something, Cam put this up to see where some of the strongest shear might be. And right now we're seeing on the weaker side for shear, and that's good news for anybody who was out east of this storm. Right at the moment, I want to pull it up tight. I can't see it with the cone in the way. Is that extreme, or is that just, is that part of the watch?
Just part of the watch.
That's part of the watch.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because you'll see the legend up here. It's weak, strong, and extreme. We don't want to obviously see that yellow in the shear here. Oh, yeah, I see. That's what that was. It was just hard to see. Okay, so right now that's good news.
And it looks like the arrow went away as well.
Yeah, it did. Meaning now that the orange arrow is gone, that's an indicator from our computer that it's a shear storm, meaning it's reached a level where there's significant rotation, where it could become a tornado or tornadic with a lot of rotation. So that's a good sign for us. You'll notice right now where the other polygon's out till 3, right?
Correct. 315 was the latest
315
one.
there, and this is till 3? Is that where we...
Correct, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're going to be on with you until 3:15 because this storm, unless they drop this warning, meaning they being the National Weather Service, I'll just say this about that. You folks in Glencoe, stay in your tornadic or your tornado safe locations. For you folks from Dry Ridge to Crittenton, know that this storm is heading to you. And while we've talked about some of the diminution of this storm, that doesn't mean it's not going to cause damage across your area. And it doesn't mean that some flying debris couldn't hit you. And that is the number one way people get hurt, is flying debris, because people are out watching, the winds come up too fast, and somebody gets hurt. So keep that in mind and stay in your tornado safe location. I will say this, give me a marker, a measurement from outside of Glencoe down to the highest winds. Give me a little measurement there, Cam, when you can. There you go. Remember earlier we were talking about 3 miles, 3.5, whatever it was. Well, now we're seeing the circulation kind of widen. So in other words, it's still there, and it still could tighten up. That's why this warning is out until 3:15. It's a wise decision by the National Weather Service to put out this warning and leave it there, because it tells everybody along this corridor you're still in jeopardy, even though right now it's not as intense. But as I've mentioned, there's still damaging winds with this. Okay, hail, let's go to hail. Good thought. Hadn't checked that in a while. This is still producing some very big hail. Was it at 2.5 before? Is that what?
At one point it got up to 4.
Up to 4. Hit the pink right there for me, Cam. That should give us, yeah, the skit, please, if you would.
Doesn't.
Yeah, right on the bulb of the skit.
Not registering when I.
Yeah, but I think you're missing it, honestly, right here.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. Yeah. And so hail size. So it's still, right now, the analysis is 3.5-inch hail. So you see this stripe here. So in other words, the darkest shades, those dark boxes right in through there in the middle of this, it looks like maybe up here too. That's 3.5 inches. And then dropping down 2 and 1, but there's still some very obviously damaging hail with this particular storm, and it's out ahead of the storm as well. And so this is going to cause some damage for you folks in and around Grant County. This is going to be a big deal for you guys. So right now, some good news. Still got a deep notch in here. There's a lot of inflow. That's why we're still seeing a possibility of this spinning back up. You like seeing the trend, though, on this particular storm and what's going on. Any other thoughts right now, Cam?
You know, we're keeping an eye on the velocity data and ebbing and flowing a little bit in terms of the tightness of that and the wind speeds. But like you mentioned, over the last probably 15, 20 minutes, see if we can put a loop on in here and you can see it. I mean, when it was going across VV, it was really tight. Same thing just before it got to Glencoe. But now as it's approaching Dry Ridge, you do still have that rotation, but you're not dealing with quite as tight rotation, nor are you dealing with quite as high wind speeds. But there's a reason that warning is still in effect until 3:15. It's because that rotation is there. But as you see it, and again, the other weird part about this system is it's moving almost southeast a little bit.
Yeah,
due east with a little bit of a southerly drift there, which is something we don't see very often.
Yeah, really surprising. It's an unusual movement for a storm of this magnitude. So that is something that is remarkable on this. And look at some of the wind speeds we're seeing. We're still seeing some winds that could very well be damaging as this storm continues to move toward you there in Dry Ridge. You should be in your tornado-safe location. Now, push it out just a little bit, Cam, for me. As we talk about this, I want to let you folks know over in Pendleton County, I'd be really surprised if this storm just falls completely apart by the time it gets to you. So if you're especially just over the border, maybe we could pull in out by Pendleton County. One of the things, and this is something we talked about earlier, and that is it doesn't do you any good to not tell you in advance. It's always better to be out front and make the assumptions that are what's going to happen. In other words, I want to err on the side of least regret. And so as a result, for you folks in Gardnersville, Knoxville, Goforth, Portland, this storm is heading for you. If it were me and my family, I would probably set myself in a basement. You have the time right now before the core of the storm gets to you so that you can make sure you're all set, whether it's a basement or, as I say, the middle of the home, so that you can be ready if this storm hangs on or worse, starts spinning up stronger, because that is a possibility. Hopefully that won't be the case. So this is going to travel to you. Now, it may not be a tornado warning. I would be shocked if we don't get another severe thunderstorm warning, at least for some of you folks that I just mentioned, if not out to Butler and Falmouth, because this storm likely is not just going to fall apart to nothing here. It's too close to you at this point. All right, so right at the moment then, where do we stand, Cam? We've got, see, this is bulging out here almost as its own separate kind of system. Yeah, is there
some little rotation on the back end of it too, yes.
Yeah, okay, so there is a little bit out there as well. Thankfully, it hasn't been any more than that, but there is some rotation as Cam has pointed out. The storm itself, though, it looks like is right now just about moving into Dry Ridge. This storm, for you folks, you should be in your tornado-safe location. Let's go in and street spot some of this, Cam. All right, so we're looking out to Warsaw Road, to Meeks Road, you folks, McCoy Boulevard, Dry Ridge bypass. Let's push out over there to the west, Cam, and see, yeah, let's go the other way. And then, so there's Warsaw, that's the long road there. Delia, as well as Baton Rouge Road. That's about where the core of the storm is right now. And then how about flicking on the lightning there so that we can show what's up? And there it is. It's showing a lot. Thoughts as you take a look at the structure. I'm thinking this has grown in a little bit of intensity. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, and that's been the theme over the last probably hour and a half since we've been on here, is at times like, okay, this is all good signs. We're seeing some decrease in the strength. Lightning may be dropping a little bit, but as Steve mentioned, a big factor in this is just looking at the amount of lightning that we are dealing with. And obviously it has been popping up in a big way, and that really hasn't decreased at all. So at times the rotation will kind of ebb and flow, but the lightning is something that's been a huge issue over the last several hours here with this system as it's moved through. And no question, even as right now, when we did mention that on the back end of this, we're getting at least a few issues with some rotation. We can take a quick look at it. You're still seeing that. Obviously, the tightest rotation is there near just south of Dry Ridge and Delia, but even near Eagle Hill, you have it as well. But let's Steve, I'll take the lightning off and we can see a better idea of the latest scan that just came through there near Dry Ridge.
Yeah, and as we look at it, let's go ahead and mark that up a little bit, Cam. It looks like we've got some pretty intense winds going on there. Yeah, we sure do. Back through here, how about this one right here? Kind of curious about that one there, and the one below it. Yep. And okay, so 30. So we got an update. So it's already moved off, but that rotation is now pretty much centered over Dry Ridge, wouldn't you think, Cam?
Yeah, and again, 5 minutes ago, we didn't have these winds anywhere close to this. We were looking at 20 to 30 mile per hour winds, but back up to 60 with those rotating winds, right over Dry Ridge. So anywhere between Knoxville to Doughton, if you're in between that line on the county line, this is coming right for you. Yeah, and it's interesting. Something that Cam first pointed out that bears repeating now is, let's see where this goes. We're just about at 3 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. And so as a result, a decision has to be made at this point, does it not? Yeah, you would think here within. Did they drop the 3:15 warning? 3:15 warning is still in effect. So this so this is the 3:15. Thanks for the clarity. I see. That's right. Here's our 3 o'clock. Okay, so we were in so tight I didn't see it. But we're about 5-10 minutes from this being outside of that. So we've been mentioning being on top of this and giving people. Wait, did it? I don't believe so. I still haven't heard it. Usually our weather radio will. I thought I saw that flash up. Oh, you hit the watch. That's what it is. That's what it is. Correct, yeah. So again, we are in continuous coverage because of this tornado warning, sitting over Dry Ridge right at the moment. Now, this is where the most intense winds are. As we look at, this is what we call reflectivity. This is the rainfall, right, that we commonly on a radar. But what this does is it gives us an idea of structure, and we're still seeing a rather notable notching here and this little kind of leg of the storm. It shows us that rotation is going on within the system itself. So there's going to be some kind of warning that is going to be next here as we get to the next 14 minutes. There's a lot of strong rotation now, or shear, in this system. So we'll see if this tornado warning doesn't get extended out. I would, if I were you in Butler and Falmouth, as I said, I think a few minutes ago, take the time now. Oh, perfect, Cam. Yeah, I'll let folks see this. Would you mind? You want to do the little trick and kind of extend it out a little bit. See who else is within the timing. As we look at this, I will tell you this, that now is your time to take your precautions in Butler and Falmouth. And let's hope this system falls apart before it gets to you. But I don't think that will be the case. We're going to see either a tornado warning or we're going to see a severe thunderstorm warning, most likely as this continues to move off to the east-northeast. There's a little update for us here, and you'll see already the computer is a bit behind because this would be where the rotation has been in and around the Dry Ridge area, right across Crittenton. By the way, if you've got some friends who are driving south on 75 or you know that they just left out of the city, so we've got something that's coming out. So to finish that sentence, if you know they're driving out of the city on 75, give them a call on the cell and let them know that this is going on. They likely won't have a problem because this is moving so fast, it'll probably just move over. But if they are driving down into Pendleton County or somewhere there, it's an important thing to know. Not everybody will have, unfortunately, an app on their phone that positions them so that the appropriate warning comes out. So here's where we are right now. We're in a tornado warning until 3:15, so we're about 13 minutes away from that. You'll notice the lightning, the heavy rain on this as well, stretching down from Crittenton all the way down through 75 to about Dry Ridge. This is the storm, and the lightning, by the way, is increasing. I'm seeing more pop up. And let's see if that continues. That's an indicator that this storm is spinning back up or getting stronger, in other words. Let's see. So you see the lightning more and more popping in here in the last 15 minutes. So as you look at it, we're talking about this storm moving off to the east. What's the latest? How about the shear spike up here, Cam? Let's see what the speed is. Still holding at 43 miles an hour. Okay, there we go. The hail size has dropped. We're still at 1.5 inches. The tornado index is down at 3. The ETA for you folks in Butler, Falmouth. Butler at 320, Moscow at
332. And you'll notice we're still seeing a shear storm with this, meaning there's still a lot of rotation in this, and the winds could be traveling or around that rotation at 70 miles an hour as this storm moves. So there's still very strong damaging winds. All right, so they have gone to a severe thunderstorm warning at this point. You'll notice it includes Bracken and also Pendleton County till 3:45. Now, we'll do a wrap-up here shortly. We'll do that shortly, but we're going to hang in here until we have the tornado-warned area taken care of. Okay, yeah, let's do a little update there. Cam, can you do a little analyzation real quick for me?
Yeah, I mean, we're still seeing the pretty good rotation there. Again, it's not as much rotation with that, and that's great news. You just see that latest update come in. No longer are we seeing that green and red mixture. So just within the last 2 or 3 minutes with that, that's awesome news, which is why they have not extended that tornado warning. As of right now, they just extended it into a severe thunderstorm warning. But all the data coming in over the last 10 to 15 minutes has been good data in terms of the severe threat going down. Severe threat is still there. And as we've mentioned, this has been going back and forth, at times increasing, decreasing in strength. So it's still necessary to be weather aware. Don't go outside. We've got a lot of rain, and we have a decent amount of lightning. So we are going to continue to keep a very close eye on this, obviously, as well, until this tornado warning does officially expire. You take a look at that lightning, still a lot of lightning there. So that is a big concern with the amount of energy that is still on it. Let's go back to the reflectivity, see if we can see any inflow notches. Not really, no hooks kind of going there. You have this one spot still near Dry Ridge that has that donut effect, as we like to call. That has moved through Dry Ridge now, still dealing with the heavy rain and maybe even a little bit of lightning. Yeah, a lot of lightning there still on the back end over the last 10 to 15 minutes. But as this hops across Grant County into Pendleton County, there in northern Kentucky, that severe thunderstorm warning is going to be in effect for you guys. But as of right now, the tornado warning is set to expire here in the next 10 minutes.
Excellent. Nice recap, Cam. So as we look at it right now, the only thing that bothers me a little bit is there's a fair enough rotation where we're still getting what we call one of those bounded weak echo regions, meaning that the area right there just outside or to the east of Dry Ridge, portion of Dry Ridge, is still, there's a lot of rotation within this storm. The warning is out, of course, until 3:15, as Cam mentioned. The severe thunderstorm warning now, that's going to encapsulate both Pendleton County and also Bracken County until 3:45. So we're going to stay with this storm as long as we see these properties that could very well have it turn back tornadic. Right now, a lot of that has diminished. We're not seeing nearly the kind of strength on this storm that we have over the course of about the last 45 minutes or an hour. Our 9 first warning Doppler has done exceptional to really give us the indicators of what we needed to see this storm originally when we were first on here gosh, about an hour ago. And at the moment, it's giving us the detail that we need to really see there's not as much rotation. There's still some, but it's very broad. So in other words, when we talk about a severe thunderstorm warning, that's what's going on in a severe thunderstorm warning. There's rotation in that storm, but it's exceedingly broad. So right at the moment, while it can produce damaging winds, it doesn't mean it really is going to or is going to spin up to a tornado. But that's why we issue warnings in a severe thunderstorm, because it's the level just underneath a tornado warning. You know yourself, a severe thunderstorm can produce winds or gusts to 60, so it could cause damage there too. So as we look at it, here's some of the rainfall rate. This area you want to avoid naturally, and one of the real easy reasons is all of the rain that's coming down. It's the kind of rain rate that you probably have to pull your car over. So if you're in Pendleton County at all, you want to be at home. You want to be in somewhere safe right now as this storm starts heading for you. It's losing a lot of the structure we first saw. It still has some. We mentioned notching, meaning winds are coming in. And in fact, the tornado index in the latest update has grown a little bit, meaning that that spin in the atmosphere has tightened up just a little bit. And as Cam did a great job analyzing a few moments ago, this is what's been going on with this storm. So do not take it lightly as it comes into Butler, Falmouth, or Moscow as it heads toward you. We still have a lot of hail. One of the things also with the storm that as we do the surveying in the next 24, 48 hours, National Weather Service goes out and takes a look, that hail is going to be a big factor because we saw it upwards of, was it 4 inches?
4 inches at one point,
Yeah.
and they were putting out in their descriptions of the tornado warning, tennis ball sized hail.
And that's what we're talking about. So there's still very large hail with this. There's the velocity, some of the winds. We're looking at some of the products. Yeah, this is starting to get really close to the radar. Let's see. How about jump? Okay.
Sorry.
Let's take let's take a look at jump over to our other radar. I think we're going to be under the AP, so as a result we can take a look at see what's going on there. So that's our radar there in Claremont County, and as we look at it, it doesn't have nearly the structure. How about taking a look at the SRV at this point? And take a look. Yeah, we still have, and there it is down there. Oops.
That's our radar's SRV.
Oh, that's our radar SRV. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So we can still see that there's some pretty strong winds, but that level, in other words, do me a measurement from about the strongest winds to out to here for everybody, and we can start to show them that the case is that this is starting to broaden out. It's at 5.5, 6 or so miles wide. At our smallest point, I think we were at 2.9. Is that right, Cam? Is that, I think I saw 2.9. And at our widest, about 10 minutes ago, we had one out to about 7 miles. So that's what's happening is this circulation that's going on in this particular storm is tightening up and getting stronger and relaxing a bit, and this is why we take a look at shear rate. We are seeing some weaker shear rate. We're not seeing the red that we saw earlier getting us into the strong shear rate of the winds going back and forth. Here's the hail that's falling right now. There's no question there's some pretty serious hail in that darker purple there, and we saw already it was, what, 2.5, am I right?
2.5 to 4 inches, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 here recently. Hit the pink one there, this pink skit there, Cam, right here. Yeah, there we go. Hail 100%, well, 275 is where it stands right now in that darkest shade. Just curiously, go in and go tight, see where that hail's falling. It looks like it's northwest. It's by, oops, missed a road there, wherever that is. Thank you.
Jag Road.
What is it?
Jag.
Jag Road. So that's some of the heaviest hail that's coming and falling at almost 3 inches. So there's some pretty damaging hail across that area. Thankfully, it looks like a very rural section, and it's south of Gardnersville. You folks in Portland, oh, I see Portland's right there. It's heading for you. So just know that you're going to see some pretty good size hail happening. The rain, of course, is broad. It's across a number of communities, and that purple black shade, that's almost the highest reflectivity we can measure. We saw that the rain rate was upwards of 7 inches. There's a number of lightning strikes all across the area. Let's pull down a little bit, Cam, and see what's happening. So now the storm, it looks like there might be a turn to the northeast. You see the lightning growing in this section here. Instead of doing a due east thing that it has been, let's see if it doesn't bend just a little bit more northeast. But this is why we told you folks a few minutes ago, Butler and Falmouth, about this storm heading for you. And it certainly made it. And it's what we talked about. While it was diminishing, it's still a powerful storm, and it has wind gusts to 60 miles an hour or so. And that's why this is under a severe thunderstorm warning now. As we look at this storm, it has still a lot of rotational properties. It's up at a 4.2. The scale is, as you would think, 0 to 10. And when we see, as we did, this scale up at about 7, 8, we likely have a tornado on the ground. I've seen over the course of the last couple of decades, and once we got our tornado index on our 9 first warning Doppler, always maintain its accuracy. There hasn't been any time where this has floated up where there hasn't been something on the ground. I'm glad to see it's at 4, but it's in a position where obviously if this storm continues to grow, we could be in trouble. So we'll continue to follow this storm here and to see see where we stand. Cam, couple of thoughts on what's happening right now.
You know, good news about the rotation with the velocity data. Although the latest models, latest runs, getting maybe a little closer. What was it? About 5 miles last time? Well, it's still about the same. So,
okay.
But certainly still some gusty winds. So that's why there's a severe thunderstorm warning for that area, not a tornado warning. Rotation's not there, but you're still getting some winds. I'll throw a quick peg on this. These gusty winds right here, 60 miles per hour. So
yeah.
it's still something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and that's why, as we talk about a severe thunderstorm warning, there are parameters by the National Weather Service for it to hit, and it has to be 3/4 inch hail. Or also the winds up at about 60 miles an hour. As a result, it's hitting both of those rather easily, and that's why the severe thunderstorm warning stretches all the way out to Brooksville. This storm is going to maintain its strength, if not for the entire county, I would say certainly most of it. And you'll notice we are under that severe thunderstorm watch. I'm also noticing, go ahead, push out a little bit here. Let's update everybody else. Right now, you'll notice that the National Weather Service dropped the severe thunderstorm watch that was out for much of the tri-state for the afternoon until 4 o'clock. So if you are obviously not in this area in northern Kentucky, and for that matter, even if you're under some rain and thunderstorms down from Highland, Brown, or Adams County, these are garden variety. They'll be moving through. You'll get some rain, winds, gusty winds, but that'll be it. The area that we're only concerned with at this juncture is this area here down in through Dry Ridge, stretching over into about Falmouth. So we're talking about Grant and also Pendleton County. So the storm right now continues to move. In fact, there's a new skit there. Why don't you hit that pink one there, Cam? I think it looks like it's still moving east. I mean, it's just really surprising to see that. And not that it's a big deal, but the hail has dropped a little bit. Still rotation with this. Let's see. And the width now is at 11 miles. So we continue to see much broader rotation. And so that's a really good sign for you folks in Pendleton County. I'm sure we've already sent crews down through about Dry Ridge and out to the southwest for the confirmed tornado. This looks like this is going to move through, and hopefully there isn't any damage. There's still a possibility, but there's certainly, it's a lot less likely there's going to be anything significant across this area unless the storm blows back up. So right at the moment, that is indeed not the case. So have they broadened out the warning? The
warning is the same. They have dropped the tornado warning, so there's no longer a tornado warning.
Thank you very much. I knew something was different as I look back at the maps. Thanks, Cam. That's why you need 4 eyes instead of 2 here on a day like today. A new skit down here. Let's get the update and get down into the storm itself and give you an idea. There's still, it's really bothersome to see this. There is still a good deal of rotation with this. That's why the tornado index is up at 4. This is, in other words, it's not at that stage where we go, oh, probably a tornado on the ground. But it's that stage, if we were sitting here analyzing and we weren't on the air, we'd be saying, hey, we got to stay right on top of this, got to stay right on top of this. We'd be right on because of the look of what's going on. Okay, so now the shear, the good news is the shear is now down to about 58 miles an hour. So there's a lot of still damaging winds with this, but it's not nearly the storm it has been. Hail is still at a good size at over 2 inches. There'll be damage probably across this area as the storm heads toward Falmouth. And then Falmouth is at 322. So for you folks there, you got 5 minutes and this storm's going to be over the top of you. Brooksville, I think it said 342 if I'm not mistaken. Is that what it was, Cam?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So for you folks in Brooksville, you're 342 there, so you're not far behind this storm. And once again, it is moving out of the southeast instead of due east. I mean, it's not flat east. It's moving a little bit south. And there's still a lot of rotation. You folks in Falmouth now, those winds are going to be increasing, and you're going to see more stronger gusts as this storm moves just in over the top of you. Four Oaks, Hayes, stretching out to Goforth, back to Catawba, Bachelor's, what is Bachelor's? Bachelor's Rest. These small towns, Menzie, you're going to be getting some much stronger winds, and certainly around the Falmouth area, you folks are going to start to see some damaging winds gusting to about 60 miles an hour as this storm moves through. Now, the storm itself is probably going to hold its structure, as I've mentioned, moving off to the east. Let's see how the rainfall has gone, Cam. Let's see, how about a 1 hour rainfall up in hydrology and see how things have gone in the last hour or so as we look at this, because this is a prolific rain producer across the area. So as we push it back, you'll notice that you can see the path of the storm all the way back as we move into Indiana. So all of these areas, you can just see how it just continues to propagate here. I say that because just because the storm may not have as much intensity, we're still talking about almost a difficult situation to drive in. Yeah, here's a good example. We're talking about an hour's worth of rain. This is a 3-hour total, but there wasn't rain 3 hours ago. This rain only started about an hour ago, maybe a little bit longer. So we're talking about an inch and a half in that short period of time across the area. So this continues to show a lot of rain. And as it rolls into Brooksville, you folks are going to likely see some street flooding and other issues like that. So think about staying at home. Even though this isn't a tornado-warned storm at this point, it's still moisture-laden with a lot of lightning as well as it moves in. Let's click on the lightning and just show a little bit. The storm is situated here. You'll see in the Falmouth area. We're also seeing a little bounded weak going to drop down in there a little bit more, Cam. We're getting a lot of rotation again. How about hitting the pink one again? Let's see if there's been any update. Yeah, right there. Not the red one. Nope, other one. There we go. Thank you. Still at 4.2. That's good to see, but look at the hail size. Hail's jumped up. This storm has increased in intensity. What happens with hail? See, this is, again, if you weren't with us, the best way to think of this area, and you can, let's drop down in there and tell the folks where that is, where that intense hail is likely falling. Okay, so it's heading in and around the Hayes area on its way between probably Falmouth and Hayes. What that is, in fact, it's already out ahead of the storm, of course, and look at the black in there. You want to tag that with the eyedropper and see what the size is. It's probably that 3-inch hail that we were seeing.
When I do the tag dropper, it's
not working
showing up for it, yeah.
So as we look at it, that hail that happens, what's going on in the atmosphere is obviously the water droplets coalesce, super cooled, they become a piece of hail. And then they start falling. They start falling, but they get shot back up in the cloud again. And because of that blender effect, and that's what I'm talking about when we see that bounded weak echo region. We'll go back to reflectivity for a second, Cam. This area here that we're talking about, right in there, what's happening is around the outside of that, intense winds are going at a higher rate of speed around it, and there's less there, and it's like looking down on top of a blender. And when it comes to the hail, what's going on is it falls, gets caught in that intense spin, thrown back up in the atmosphere, and then the whole process begins again. So where are we at? Like 3-inch hail right now, I think, is what we said.
Correct.
Camp? Yeah, right about this area. So that's what we're talking about that's going on. And so that process continues, 3 1/4, and it's 100% chance of that going on. So it's not even chancy. It's going on within that storm. Okay, so a couple of updates for you folks who are out to the east. We're talking about Brooksville. It was 325. Here are some other towns that are right now under the gun. McKinney'sburg, Browning Corner, Four Oaks, Hayes. This is all swirling winds in a large fashion. We're talking about the swirl of, it just got real tight. It went from 11 to 3 for this area right in through here, meaning those winds, we can't tell this gray area. Excuse me, hold on a second. Let me take a little slurp of water here.
Yeah, the gray area, like Steve was mentioning, is that area that doesn't really show clearly the rotation as that radar comes back in. So you can see the distance from what's getting picked up, but could be very likely that that rotation is a lot closer together, which obviously is why we are staying on right now, because we are still seeing significant rotation. You can look at some of these wind speeds down here, 60 miles per hour. It's not that far away from each other that you're getting some pretty good rotation. Yeah,
in other words, we were talking about the broad nature of this storm at 11 miles for the last few minutes. Well, all of a sudden now that rotation is essentially within about 3.5 miles of itself. Well, we can't see this gray ghost, and we don't know if it's green or red, meaning green going toward the radar, red away, so it's going like this. then it gets pushed up, and then that rotation happens. Then we get tornadic activity. Right now, that instead of being out at like 11 miles, it's now down to about 3.5. So we're seeing a tighter area of rotation. That doesn't mean it's going to continue into anything tornadic, but it's an indicator, obviously, that this storm is probably getting a little bit stronger at this point. And so as a result, you folks, especially in and around who are out past there, let's do a reset, Cam, and let everybody know where we stand right now if we can. Thank you. Okay, so here's where we are. This is severe thunderstorm warning. Now, normally, we wouldn't stay on completely for a severe thunderstorm warning, but we're doing that because of this particular storm. In fact, are you seeing this, Cam? Look at this
at the bottom
here. Yeah, so we're starting to get a little hook on this storm. Things have gotten more intense with this storm. So we want to keep you folks and in and around, especially Bracken County, aware of this particular storm because it was tornadic. And it did produce a confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service. That was back about an hour ago?
Hour ago, yeah, that
like
tornado warning expired at 3:15.
So yeah, and the one before that was 30 minutes before, so 2:45, somewhere in there. Anyway, point is this storm is still a very powerful storm, and that's why we're staying with it. My guess is there's going to be a lot of pictures on social media that show a lot of hail in a lot of yards and good size hail. And when somebody puts it in their hand, there's going to be some serious hail that you look at because we're still talking about hail to 2.5 inches dropping out of this storm now. It's moving east at 45 miles an hour. The update is Brooksville at 337, Augusta at 344, and then through Higginsport and Dover thereafter if this storm indeed holds together. So we're going to watch this storm as it continues to move here over the next few minutes. If it doesn't seem to continue to progress, then what we'll likely do is we'll probably send you to programming and we'll watch this storm. So let's do a good update here for you folks who are in the pathway. And one of the reasons why, just in case you've missed your show, whatever it be, Kelly Clarkson or one of the soap operas in the afternoon, if it was your town and this storm was heading to you, you'd want us to stay on. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. And I know it's an inconvenience for a lot of folks. They miss what they wait all day for. I'm sorry about that. I really am. I wish there was a better way. But clearly, this is a situation that's life-threatening, and it's important for us to continue. Okay, so right now, as we look at it, the severe thunderstorm warning is out to about Brooksville right here at 345. We're going to watch this now to continue to see if this same kind of rotational properties, these same wind gusts and lightning and torrential rain and all the other factors that can cause problems, damage, if you will, continue. If not, we might send you back to programming, and we'll be at just a few minutes away at the top of the hour to give you the update on this storm anyway. Oh, that's no good.
That's not what we want to see. Yeah, now that width's down to about 2 miles, so it continues to tighten.
It sure is. There's the shear at 69 miles an hour, meaning that this is a storm that the 9 first warning Doppler, this is something that you don't get unless you have your own Doppler. But because it can do this and our own Doppler analyzes this, it shows that shear storm, meaning this is just very nearly tornadic. It's not yet, but it's very nearly, and that's where we stand right now. So we're going to stay into coverage around the area, and if we look at it, well, there you go. There's a nice hook right here. We have that notch ahead of it, all the structure that you would need for something that's spinning very tightly across the area, as well as, let's go ahead and zoom down into there right now, Cam, and give folks around, okay, right there's good. So we're talking about Four Oaks, McKinney'sburg, Browning Corner, Bachelor's Rest. Petra or Petra, do you think?
Probably Petra.
Petra, okay. Powersville and Willow. All of these small towns, all in the path now of this storm. This storm will produce damage. I can tell you that much. It's not technically a tornadic storm. There's certainly plenty of lightning, as we've shown you. The rain is torrential across this. Look at this area here that's out ahead of the storm. We're talking about, let's go into SRV, Cam. That's storm relative velocity. So this shows us how those winds are interacting with each other. as the storm moves. And right now we're seeing something that you've heard a term probably once or twice in severe weather coverage, and that's gate to gate, meaning the winds that are going away from the radar are now butt up against the ones that are going toward. So now we're seeing, and let's get right, how about this one? I'm guessing that's 50 maybe? Write that one there down at the end. Yep, 41, okay, and maybe one of the brighter greens. Yeah, probably back on the end of, yeah, those McKinneyburg. Yeah, they're okay. So 40 and 40, and now do the measurement if you would, Cam, please. Let's take a look at how tight that is. My guess is it's probably within that zone of what yeah, now we're at 2.9. Meaning we've been talking about this, and if you've been with us, this circulation was 11 miles wide. Well, you know, that's a pretty large surface. So it's spinning, but it's not. Now it's starting to condense and drop down and get tight again. So this area is showing a lot of rotational properties in and around that area, and it continues to move off toward Browning Corner. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning. The winds with this, there's no question, they're up gusting to about 60 miles an hour, and hopefully we're not seeing those really potent, yeah, well, that doesn't help, does it? This is the shear rate, and we're back into the strong category. If you have been with us, this is obviously, the storm is intensifying. Let's stay with this. It's not much more before it's going to cross into this warning. Plus, the reality of the situation is something's going to have to be decided from the National Weather Service here shortly, because this storm now is moving, now it is moving northeast, and that's because the properties have increased. They were on the lighter side, so it did help it just drift eastward as the storm went. Now it's starting to tighten up, and there goes the now shift to the northeast. Boy, yeah, there you go. Boy, this is a pretty good structured system right at the moment. How about lightning? Where's the most amount of lightning? It's probably out front. Yeah, it's all here. And so you folks in Brooksville are about to see some extremely heavy rain. The winds will increase, as well as obviously a lot of lightning. We're seeing this storm now moving off to the south of Brooksville. And what do we have the latest ETA, Cam? If we hit the pink one, I think we'll, okay, draw it up. Good thought. And we have, okay, Brooksville, 3:42. Talking about 12 minutes here. And for you folks in Dover who are past that at 3:57, this may bring us, depending on what happens here, this may bring us right up to news time. One of the reasons why we're staying with this storm is because this area really is showing some developing properties. And so we want to be right here for you folks, whether it's Brooksville or it's out to the east of that this storm goes tornadic. It's not right now, but there's some pretty good properties with it showing across the area. There's a good set of shear winds, meaning rotational winds, to 69 miles an hour. Here's an update for us. So yeah, it is growing. Now, we just were talking about 69. Now we're up at almost 81.
Look at that width as well, dropped all the way down to 1 mile.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I was looking at the shear. So now we're talking about these winds being only a mile apart that are going in different directions. This is growing in intensity, and so it's not tornadic yet, as I said, but the possibility of that is increasing. Plus, the hail size has gone up. You'll see we're at 3 there. My guess is if we look at this, you want to put the lightning on, Cam, too? If we look at this, probably the lightning will be increasing right before our eyes, where extra strikes start happening around the region as well. We have a number of them, and there you go. So this is a strong storm turning stronger. Right now, this severe thunderstorm warning is going to run for another 14 minutes. But we've got a nice little hook here developed, and we've got inflow. We have the winds around in a small rotational fashion. Thankfully, the tornado index, and there's the hail. Hold on. How about, sorry, Cam, as long as you have it up. You're a step ahead of me, which is great. That's what good teamwork does. Go ahead and let's tag this and give folks an idea what's coming into Brookville then. And the reality is we're talking about hail 3 inches, so it's right here, and it's going to be moving in. There's going to be some damaging hail moving your way, as well as these winds. Now, the computer's analyzing this as a tornado index of 3, which is great. That's a good thing. Also, here's the, let's go back down to the orange one, Cam. let's see where we stand. Okay, so yeah, this particular portion of the storm here has got really tight rotation. The other one that's up here underneath that
There's
heavy
that tornado warning that just got extended, or
And-
just
Oh,
reinitiated.
just
So like you've been saying,
that was, yeah, that was what we were waiting for. It became obvious that that was going to happen. We're kind of waiting for it. So we're under a tornado warning now. So we're going to stay through, what is it, 4:15?
4:15.
Okay, so this tornado warning then covers just about portions of Falmouth through Brooksville, you folks in Mount Olivet, and then we're talking all the way to just about Maysville, and likely this storm will hold together in some form as it makes its way toward you. Let's pinpoint that storm now. We have a tornado warning, a new one. This is, my guess is, Doppler indicated at this point. We haven't had any other indication. Cam, if you want to give me, yeah, why don't you check out what the Weather Service put out? I'll take a look at this and tell you this. We are looking that this storm right about where the bend is right here. See this green and red shaded area? Those two areas, that's where this storm is located. That's where we've got likely some form of tornadic winds, meaning they are so tight and rotational, and we showed you that at just a mile wide. Those winds were whipping around here. You'll also notice too, we're seeing, I don't know if you saw that pop on, I did, and these brighter little gates. We call them gates, but they're rectangular boxes in real terms. Well, those boxes indicate to us those winds are very tightly placed. In fact, now under a mile. Let's do a little street spotting here, Cam, and let folks know exactly where this is. So it's just outside McKinney'sburg. You folks in Milford, you need to be in your tornado safe location in Petra, Powersville, Hitville, Bratton, Bridgeville, Stonewall, all of these areas in there all need to be in your tornado safe location because this storm continues to move toward you. It's one of the reasons why we did not go off coverage. The reason is we saw this coming. Cam and I kind of not knowingly looked at each other, knowing that it didn't pay to go off and come back on 5 minutes later. So I was waiting for the National Weather Service to issue that tornado warning, and now it's happened. Here's the timeline. As you notice, we're looking at 3:45 for Brooksville, so you folks are 10 minutes away from the storm. That's how fast it's moving. Let's spike that orange one, Cam, and see the speed at which it's moving at this point. 45 miles an hour to the east. The good news is some of the width, not really, it's negligible, quite frankly. The hail is back up to 3.5 inches. What's likely happening right now, given our tornado index is at a 3.0, is there is a heavy rotation, and likely there could be a funnel cloud in this as well. So we'll watch and see if the TI grows as this storm moves. The lightning, my guess is there's power outages stretching across northern Kentucky in some form because of all of the lightning that's been associated with this. It continues in so many ways to pulse, and so sometimes we've had less lightning. Right now, it looks like we've got actually a great deal. So as we look at this, bottom line is the storm is moving off now to the northeast. You need to be in your tornado safe locations. Let's recap just briefly what that means. Why don't we push back and give some perspective, Cam? There's the warning so that you can see it. The storm is to the southeast of Cincinnati. There are storms in Adams County. We don't care about those. Those are garden variety right now. There is some rotation. We'll keep an eye on it. But the focus is down here that you see in red. It's an active tornado warning till 4:15, and that's why we're on continuous coverage. Now, as we continue to look at this, we're watching the storm moving off now to the northeast. It's likely going to make it to Maysville. And I wanted to remind all the folks who are in the course of this tornado warning what it means and what you do to be safe. I think everybody knows you go to your basement right now if you can. You folks in Maysville, you don't have to jump right into the basement. The storm is just starting to, some light moderate rain up toward Ripley. So what you can do is set yourself ready to be there through the entire time. You folks who are out front like this, and the reason I mention that is this is your time either to make sure maybe you have a laptop and you can go to WCPO.com and you can watch us live there. If you have the app on your phone, if you don't, you can download it now. And all of those preparational things, if this storm continues to hold, and it looks like that it probably will. That's for folks who are in Ripley and Maysville. Everybody else, don't take any time to do anything. Right now, you need to just get to your safe location, either the basement or that interior room. We've mentioned it several times. I'm going to mention it again for folks who are just hearing their sirens go off, might be dialing in. This is your time to get safe because this is a tornado warning. Did you get an answer on whether it was Doppler indicated?
Doppler indicated, that's from the National Weather Service, with the tornado and golf ball size hail being the biggest threats, moving to the east at around 40 miles per hour.
Okay, so thank you, Cam, that's great. So that'll tell you that there are other threats, not just the actual potential tornado that's on the ground. We haven't had a confirmation just yet. Well, that's interesting, starting to break up a little bit into its own cell. That's not good. So as we look at it, I want to make sure interior of your home, that's where I was going with this, kind of went to the right there for direction, but the reality is interior section, whether it's the bathroom or whether it's the closet, that's where you need to be. If you're in this general area, pull it in now, Cam, so we can give them a, yeah. If you're anywhere from Brooksville down over by Stonewall, Bridgeville, Hittville, Bratton, Milford, Browning Corner, and certainly in Petra, it looks like, yeah, that's probably the location of where that is in that general area, and that's where that rotation is happening. Petra to Milford to Bratton to Hittville. I want to tag some of the brighter ones. We'll get some gusts, see what's going on here, 46 and 40, and yeah, that's not much. Yeah, that's all, in other words, that circulation's happening right here from Hittville, right around, stretching down to Bratton like that. That's what's going on. Milford was the other place underneath there, and that's where that kind of hook has started to form, has been there, really. You'll notice there's been a new update here. It's analyzing the center there. We're still seeing 3. The hail's down a bit. Still seeing shear to 69, so the winds have down a little bit. The width is up negligibly, and then we're still moving off to the east at 45. Interestingly enough, while that says east, you know, this clearly has somewhat of a southeast pattern, don't you think, Cam?
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting that it's breaking off a little bit. You mentioned that briefly. You know, earlier, some of the tightest rotation was actually north of this little cell. That's kind of trying right here to kind of have a mind of its own. So that's quite interesting, especially with that southeasterly track there. Yeah. Again, as you probably know when you watch storms, they usually go east-northeast, and for them to kind of move to the east-southeast shows that there's some mixing going on with those winds. And if that does break off, I think that'd be cause for some pretty good concern. Yeah, it's well said. I like the way you said that, and I don't like the way, see how it's starting, the winds are starting to come back around, or excuse me, the rainfall, you saw it almost closing off like that. It's now becoming its kind of own system, and that's why cause for concern is right. If this becomes its own little storm, it won't be little any longer. So as we look at the very latest, we have a little update for you so you can look at some of the parameters. Hail is still a big factor. You'll notice the timeline from Brooksville at 3:48. Now this is going to be this part of the storm, right? We'll see if this stays together or not. But right now, this whole storm is moving in that direction, and that will be in the Brooksville area in just what, the next 7 minutes. Yep. So for all of you folks across that area. Now, for you folks in Augusta, Ripley, and Maysville, I said you had a few minutes. You're really almost just outside the tornado-warned area. This is now, if you look at this, you'll notice this part of the storm is now moving northeast. There's also, this is an old skit, so I'll be interested when this repositions where this heads, because it was what we were talking about. Right at the moment, though, you would expect this storm to go like this, like this, like this, like this. And it continues to move off to the northeast, and it'll head toward Maysville. So we're talking about a fairly highly populated area almost, really. And so we want to make sure you folks know. Here's the latest hail assessment. This is happening within the last 15 minutes. It looks like there's that 2 or 3 inch hail in a couple of spots, probably more like
like 2.5, okay? Yeah, 2 to 3 and less in other areas, but we're still talking an inch, inch and a half probably in a rather good size area. I'm just curious, go back to that hail there, Cam. Go ahead. See how long an area of hail. We don't generally see something like that.
Wow.
Look at
about 10 miles.
Look at that. That's what I wanted to see. I mean, this is an area storm that's producing hail. Now, some of it down at the tip would probably be the pea-size hail. Back by the core, of course, we're talking about that 2.5-inch hail. But regardless, you're looking at a storm producing hail at almost 10 miles across. This is an unusually strong storm for us. The conditions are set up across the area, unfortunately, rather well today. Now, the tornado warning extends down through Mount Olivet, right? So for you folks there, let's see, here's, okay, radar we're on?
This is ILN.
It is. Okay, so there was a big structure change there, huh? We lost a lot of the tail, and it doesn't look like it's closing off anymore, and that's good. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not good, but it's better because it's still showing a lot of rotational properties. Keep in mind, this is a tornado warning. So we're talking about the potential to have some really dangerous twisting winds. We were seeing shear winds, meaning rotational winds, to almost 70 miles an hour. So we're talking about a storm that will cause damage when it moves over an area. Now, to what degree? Will mean where it hits, of course, whether it's an old barn or whether it's a sturdy brick house. But regardless, this is a storm that can cause damage. So here's where we stand right now. That's across that area. This storm to the north now, this portion of the storm, not as much rotation. That's good. The orange little arrow that you see in there, we call them skits. And as we look at it, that is gone, meaning the shear component has subsided for now. This storm has diminished to some degree. I don't want to say it has diminished completely, but it is dropped in intensity a bit. And we're not seeing a strong pull in a rotation, but we are still seeing winds that undoubtedly are pushing 60 miles an hour, or maybe even a little bit greater in some locations. Curiously, let's go to the Barron's button, Cam, if you got a chance on this. I'm curious to take a look at this. Okay, so there's the hail. This is what I wanted to see. Want to tag that? I think that's going to, does that show us 80? I think it does, and I was 60. So, okay, so some of the strongest winds are up to about 60 miles an hour. We're not seeing anything greater at this point. That's the good news. There's a big core of 1-inch hail, obviously, that Cam has just tagged as well. So this is all heading up to the northeast, so that's going to be a big factor, as it has been all throughout the afternoon. The rain is also an important situation factor with this. When you get a chance, maybe we can rain rate this. I wanted to show you that the bottom part, not the structure, is not there. I like to see that. That is starting to lose a little bit of its structure for what we call a hook echo. And as a result, this, oh, there we go. So there was 1 inch of rain, yeah, across the area, 1/2 inch now, all across this area. And push out just a little bit. This will show you the length of the storm. I mean, this is showing that this storm just moved in almost a due east, a little bend maybe here recently into a southeast fashion, and it's just caused a whole heck of a lot of rain. So folks who happen to be out probably really had to pull over the car. That's how hard it was raining. We saw rain rates to 7 inches an hour. Now it's not accumulating that much, but it's raining that hard. Okay, this is some better news, at least. Wouldn't you say, Cam, that some of this structure, we still have a strong inflow, but other than that, what do you think?
Yeah, that inflow notch is the main area of concern right now. The lightning, while there's still a lot there, if you've been with us for the past hour or 2 hours, it's not quite as full as what it has been. So I'm going to throw on the winds here with that inflow notch, and it's similar to the last, 15 minutes or so. It's still there. You still have that rotation. You got the gray area in between, so not quite as tight, but still probably less than 2 miles. So there's still the indication that that rotation is going to be tight. I'll tag these winds real quick. Not looking like the 60-mile-per-hour winds we had at one point, but 30, 40-mile-per-hour winds going and coming away from that radar. So the rotation is there in the atmosphere. That's the main reason why we have this tornado warning in effect for about another 28 minutes. So we're still going to continue to see this. And even though you're not getting that clear look on the wind speeds, when you take a look at the radar, this is kind of giving us the clearest indication that you have some issues with that inflow notch. You got a little bit of a hook there with those winds coming in and out of it, and the lightning as well. But other than inside that inflow notch right there, you're not getting quite as much lightning.
No, you're right. I think that's indeed the case. Let's do something we haven't done to show the folks at home the reason why we've been in continuous coverage. Let's push this back, Cam, and let's show, what is it, 3:47? Why don't we take it back maybe close to 2 o'clock or somewhere close by. Bring it in a little bit, maybe toward the tri-state. There we go. We can see the counties that way. And let's roll it through here, and you'll see how this has moved from Indiana as tornado warned. And then there was a quick drop off, but then back into a tornado warned storm as well. Almost the entire way, with the small exception when this storm kind of diminished right there for you folks for a little bit in between what is really Grant and Pendleton County, but otherwise almost the whole way stretching back here. Gosh, yeah, it was back. Where was tornadic? It was back by 65 there, I think.
65 is when it pretty much crossed there, but there were tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings in central Illinois as early as this morning, about 9, 10 o'clock. So same system. You know, we obviously got the worst of it down here to the south. I threw on the U.S. radar. I've been keeping an eye on some of the cameras around. We got sunshine over downtown right now, and we still have a chance for some showers and storms to fire back up. This is certainly zapping a lot of the energy out of it. But we're not done with the storms completely. There'll be some more later this evening and overnight. Hopefully, you know, we're not looking at anything severe like this, though. Yeah, chances are, with this kind of raking over of the atmosphere, the storms later tonight will hopefully not be as strong. But as Cam mentioned, the main ingredient there that's going to, again, get the atmosphere ready to unleash is the sunshine and the sun that we have. I think we can probably punch up a couple of cameras if we get the chance. Right now, we're following that area that we've talked about that is a tornado warning across there, and that's out until 4:15. You'll notice the storm itself now is in Robertson County, it looks like. Is that right, Cam? Yep, Robertson getting ready to go into Mason.
Yeah, it looks like that's the story right now. You folks in Mount Olivet got scraped by this. Let's pull it in tight and give the folks, hold on, looks like a new watch came out.
I don't see that. I think.
Is that unless things aren't at zero? Let's see. Can we tag this? Watch until 4 o'clock. Is there something else out there?
I don't see anything.
That may be a mistake by the Weather Service, and we automatically have it tied to go automatically. But right now, it's under a severe thunderstorm watch. That's odd. I think. Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you pull me in tight with the SRV here, and would you check on that, please? And I can talk about this because I see a development here, too, that's a good sign. Yeah, check with the Weather Service, see what the story is on that severe thunderstorm watch. That's Kenton County. That's really odd. I think it's a mistake. Maybe it actually got issued accidentally because there's nothing out there right now. Okay, so as you see the green and the red here, I want to point this out. We're not seeing the higher level, brighter colors that we saw. That's not necessarily that this is over, but that's a better sign for us that this storm is likely diminishing again. Now, hopefully it's going to finally, you know, diminish completely. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'd like to hope that. You folks in Bridgeville and Abigail, down through Sardis, out by Shannon and Murphysville, you are now under the gun, and take your tornado safe locations. And all across that area, that's where the strongest winds are and the strongest storms. Now, I think we have a few of our 9 first warning weather cameras across the area. Here's Highland Heights, and you'll notice that we're getting sunshine again, not something we necessarily want to see. I know we have a couple other cameras queued up here, but I'm not sure which ones we may have. Okay, again, more sunshine looking out over the tri-state. So this is not necessarily something we wanted to see. We did talk about this, actually. Our boss came in here, Barry, and we were talking about it about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Do we have any other cameras back there, Matt? Matt's our director. Okay, here's downtown. Oh boy, yeah, just straight up sunshine. So this atmosphere is going to heat back up.
Steve, we do have some video
We do.
Yeah, we have some
That's
video that Matt can cue up back there. We got this video from Daniel Felix here. Take a look at this. This is Madison, Indiana, the bridge there on the Ohio River. I would not want to be the people on that barge there on the far right, as what you could see what looks to be a funnel cloud of some sort forming over the river. Well, he pans back up here in a second. You can even see debris flying over the bridge. It's pretty incredible video in its entirety here. Again, right there at Madison, Indiana. There it is. There's that debris.
Yeah. You can
flying
see
over there. Something
that's that
forming.
circulation that's happening. Looks like it's right there. You can see it just over the trees.
There you go.
Yeah. And there you can see it.
And I think we have another video from Madison, Indiana now
Cam,
as well
would we
here.
technically call this a water spout?
Technically, yeah.
It's
wondered
over
about
water.
that.
Yeah.
It's the same as a tornado, so it's just it would be a technical thing. In other words, it's a tornado over water. It just briefly went over water. Oh, there you go.
Now this is Madison as well.
Yeah. You can see the formation there happening, I think. You can see it starting to elongate. And this is what we talk about. I'm sorry, Evan. Was there more?
No. I just wanted to kind of plop this up here for you.
I'm glad you did. It visualizes what we've been talking about, which is when we show the extent of what's likely a funnel cloud. And we talk about, well, that area that you see right over there, that is starting to form. It's that rotation, and when it gets tighter and tighter, all of a sudden the whole thing starts dropping and dropping. And that's what's been going on with this system as it's pulsed across northern Kentucky. Okay, so let's give you an update. You'll notice, oh boy.
No, I threw this back to Madison at 2 o'clock to show.
Okay.
When it jumped right across the river there. Yeah, it jumped right across the river right around 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's when it turned red to purple, which means that it was a confirmed situation. But I'll go back.
I looked down and saw the purple bar. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as we let's get up to date here and give the folks down through that area a little update. As we've been talking about this storm and the intensity, the length that it's had, the fact that it produced a confirmed tornado, that you saw some of that just a moment ago. Okay, so as we look at things, this storm has probably dropped its intensity to some degree. Hopefully that's going to be the case. It's going to head to Madisonville at 4:08. We're seeing that a lot of the parameters that we watch have dropped. Not to say this could produce some damage, because it could. But at this stage of the game, things are a lot better for you folks in Maysville, in Aberdeen. As this moves through, it's not the intense storm that we saw even 15, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, as now it is starting to lose some of its intensity. But as we've also seen, that this storm could kick back up. So we're going to stay with you until 4:15 because of this tornado warning that is out across, Robertson County, Bracken, and Mason. The storm itself is heading for about Maysville. Am I right on that, Cam?
Yeah, right on that line there. It'll be in Maysville in about 15 minutes, but I would probably even say a little bit sooner than that.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. So it's moving at about 43 miles an hour. That'll give you a good idea. So we're seeing some rotational properties here. You'll see the width, though, of that rotation is at 13.6. So again, as we've talked about, the wider the rotation, the better news it is. When it starts getting tighter, that's the problem time, because that's where we see that great spin in the atmosphere that causes those dangerous twisting winds and then causes a potential tornado. So as we look at it, just an intense amount of rain heading across the area. But are these spikes, you know what, let's do a hand one and bring it up toward Maysville. It's moving southeast. It's going to, if this holds, you folks all across that area from Lewisburg out across really Maysville and Somo, all of that area, will end up seeing this storm somewhere within, the next few minutes. Moving off to that area, we're looking at Maysville at about 4:19.
Let me update that speed for us.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. Maysville at about 4:05.
Okay, there we go. All right, I guess 4:07 to be technical. But that's this part of the storm. You're going to see this part of the storm where it's raining heavily and there's lightning and everything else, and much sooner. It'll be there half as much time. The core of the system back here is over. You want to drop the lightning for a second? I'm not sure what that small town is. Shannon. You folks in Shannon right now are seeing probably the strongest winds associated with this storm. And then, by all accounts, it's moving. This storm looks like it might be moving southeast now. That's the analyzation from the computer. You'll see these, what we call skits, and it's moving off that way. So you folks in Maysville are definitely going to get some of this storm, but you folks in Mayslick, Lewisburg, Mount Gilead, Rectorville, all of you folks may very well end up seeing the core of this storm if it continues on this path. We've got another 18 minutes to stay with you, and then we're going to give it back to Evan, and he can start the show, because this storm is going to be pretty much out of our area at that point. I would say this, you know, if you've been with us, you know I like to stay out ahead of things. If you've got friends that are in parts of Kentucky outside of our area, you might give them a call now. I hate to say this and use these terms, but the reality is that's unfortunate. There are certain areas across the tri-state, across the region, that are somewhat dead spaces. It's very difficult. Folks don't get reliable coverage from certain parts that are outside of demographic areas for television markets, whether it's the center of Ohio outside of Columbus, or for us, folks who are out to the southeast of our area of coverage. So there's not a lot of information there. So if you've got friends that are outside or east of Maysville, give them a call right now while you have time, and let them know that this storm is heading for them, because by all accounts, it looks like it's going to rip through Mason County and then move on across parts of Kentucky, eastern Kentucky. It'll likely hold together either as a severe thunderstorm warning or perhaps a tornado-warned storm. Now, at present, we're not seeing, let's see, it tightened up a little bit. Hail's still a pretty good size. Here's the ETA estimates for this storm. Continuing on this pathway would get you to Maysville at 412. Not as much in the way of lightning. That's a good sign there. Like to see that. How much, what's the space here? What's the measurement from where it is out to about the warned area, please? Measure that out for me, Cam, if you would. Just curious what we're talking about. So 10 miles, so it's not going to be long before this storm is even out of the county and into other parts of Kentucky, because this is the storm that's moved across all of northern Kentucky. All of northern Kentucky right across the line that it took. I mean, that's how strong this storm has been. Curiously, just to add to the overall nature of what we're talking about, Cam, let's take a look, push this back, and do a little measurement. Yeah, that's got to be an error, right?
Yeah, I checked it on the National Weather Service, and it says they will allow the severe thunderstorm watch to expire at, there you go. They just got rid of that.
Okay. Oh, they left it on because it was out technically till 4?
Yes.
I see. Okay. So, all right. So I wanted to see, Cam, what the measurement was from the storm here all the way out past Vivi, because this is the storm's pathway as we saw, and we're talking about over an 85-mile pathway of this storm either being tornadic and, for a small portion, a severe thunderstorm. So we're talking about a storm that will likely continue holding as it continues its pathway out to the east. That's why I don't think this is just all of a sudden going to diminish. So if you have friends or neighbors out that way, whether it's up towards Scioto County or down through northern Kentucky, outside of Adams, let's say, then just let them know, because there's time. Is that a new warning? Oh, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. Okay, so I thought I saw a break in the county there. And so let's go ahead and do a little bit tighter shot here, Cam. And let's go in and give the folks an idea of exactly where this is right now. This storm is right around the Murphysville, Lewisburg, heading to Somo and Orangeburg, down through Mount Gilead, Helena, Mayslick, Shannon. This now is moved off past you folks in Abigail and Sardis. You folks are safe. If you were originally in a warning, if you are watching or hearing my voice, you're okay now. We're clearing you. You're fine. Out by Mount Olivet, Brooksville, Augusta, you're all fine right now. This storm continues then, and oh, this is storm relative. Oh, that's a great sign.
Yeah. Much better view.
Oh, boy, yeah, it sure is. In other words, we are not seeing as much shear, if any, going on at this point. I wonder, pop on shear? Maybe some of this gray area is red. Yeah, we've dropped it way down, excuse me, into a weak fashion. Cam, you want to take it for a second? I'm going to get a drink of water here. Just for a second.
That shear is a really good indicator of how much rotation we are getting. So we can look at those winds specifically, but when you zoom out here, I'm going to show the path of this. Look at those reds that are there through just to the south of Maysville, all the way back to Dry Ridge and to Falmouth, south of Brooksville. That was that entire pathway of that rotation, and where we saw that confirmed tornado, unfortunately, at least from the video that we got there in Madison, Indiana. So that's a long stretch. I'm going to measure that out specifically all the way from Hanover to where we are now. That's about 100 miles, and it will continue for a while. The best news is that we're not seeing that rotation nearly as much now, as it's just kind of barely picking up on the shear, which is what we're happy about. Is this tornado warning is set to expire in about 10 minutes. We'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, actually, it looks like they've issued a thunderstorm warning.
There you go.
So they're seeing what we're seeing, which is this storm is not tornadic at this stage. It is a very powerful and strong storm. Will likely could cause some damage. We're talking about winds likely gusting 60 miles an hour, but from once this passes here in this storm, this area that we're seeing, it's going to be out of the tornado warned area, and then it'll be a severe thunderstorm warning. In a moment, then, we're going to pass things over to Evan as soon as this storm gets out of that area and moves into the severe thunderstorm warning. At present, how about right here? Let's give you an update because we've got a new skit here to get the information. Story is still moving very, very fast, east-southeast at 43. The path of that circulation's much wider. We're seeing hail, but now the chances for severe hail are running at 90%, meaning it's not universal across the entire area. So we could be seeing hail as big as 1.5 inches, but some areas are not seeing that. It's a small amount, but there's still some there. That's all just good signs for us that this storm is now starting to wane a bit. Let's hope it stays that way. Here's the hail right as you see it. So where you see the darkest shades, that's likely the 1.5 inches. Not likely, it is the 1.5 inches. And then as we started to get out past that area, we're talking about areas that are on the smaller side. Now, we have got this area that is a tornado warned area here. We're going to hold and give it to Ev as soon as we get past this warned area. And then see, because there's still this little...
Sorry, I'll go back to that.
That's okay. This is still part of that kind of notch, that hook that was there originally. It doesn't look like there's any formation at this point. That's really good. But we're going to stay with it because it's only a matter of a few more minutes before we hand it off for this. I think what we should do is probably give a little update while we can here, Cam, of the rest of the tri-state. So if you can hot switch maybe to satellite, show a little of what's going on with that, and then we'll pop back to any tornadic activity. And as you look at it, here's the radar picture, and you'll notice all the action is down to the southeast and out to our east. The storm itself, over the course of about 2 hours that you're looking at in this loop, has moved right across northern Kentucky, mostly as a tornado-warned storm. We've been on that actually longer than that because we were the first to warn you because of our 9 first warning Doppler being able to see this as our own radar can. Now, satellite, how about a satellite here, Cam, and let's see what's going on at this point, and where we see clearing, and obviously there's going to be a lot of cloudiness around here, and certainly down by that storm that we've been talking about. Okay, so you'll notice this is the visible imagery, this is the IR. How about visible again? You want to go back to Viz? So we're going to continue to see scattered sunshine here as we head through the rest of the afternoon. We'll likely see perhaps some more showers and thunderstorms happening later. It could very well happen late tonight. As of right now, we haven't looked at the very latest run of our modeling, but as we did at the point earlier in the day, Cam, you did the last forecast. It was showing still later tonight, right?
Yeah, correct. Later tonight, there was that chance for some to develop later this afternoon, evening, but we're at 4 o'clock now, and we're not seeing anything develop. So I think we're good in that late afternoon stretch, but late this evening into the overnight hours, more chances will move on in. Chance is there for some strong, maybe a severe storm or two. Yeah.